This is why I talk about ourselves as being the caretakers of the cosmos, and even sort of saving the universe from the meaninglessness that it seems to have been brought to by the Western intellectual tradition, which is based on this separation.
You mentioned inner and outer world, and I was going to come to some of the science of this in a bit, but might as well get to it now. You do cover a lot in the book about where science has come from and where it is with regards to the interaction between mind and matter, because this is very important to think for people coming to this from a materialistic or even a religious or a humanist point of view. It's sort of, I will sometimes steer people that I talk to, say, have a look at this science here and see what you make of this, because people are beginning to, well, they have been for some time, but they're beginning to hone some of the methods by which some of this stuff might actually work in a way that you could appreciate. You know, some of the paths through which these things might happen.
Oh, well, I mean, I think one of the things with science, and again, I'm no enemy of science. I am critical of what's been called scientism, the kind of sort of ideology that someone like Dawkins and others express, where it's the belief that, you know, everything can be explained in terms of the sort of rationalist materialist science that's developed, you know, in the West over the last couple of centuries, and anything that can't be explained is either non-existent or not important. I'm a critic of that.
With regards to meaning, I've found in my life that if you look for it, you'll see it. The more you look, the more you see. And I think a lot of people believe there is none, and they don't look, and they're blind. You talk about synchronicity in the book, and they're blind to the synchronicities of their own lives. But really, it's simply a case of saying, okay, universe, show me. And I found that does actually work, and that really changes your perspective a great deal. It doesn't have to turn you into, you know, a woo-woo pseudoscientist or a mystic overnight. It simply shows you there's more to things than meets the eye. And final thought would be the nature of love, to contemplate that. Not talking about sex, not talking about biological attraction, but the miracle of love, what that actually is. I mean, who can say what that even is? But for me, that's the bottom line evidence that there's something else going on here in terms of meaning. I
completely agree with you. I mean, basically, you get what you put into it. You know, if you, you know, if somebody tells you there's a treasure hidden in this room, well, if you believe them, you'll look for it. You might find it, but if you don't believe them, you're not going to bother to look. So I totally agree with you. I think the attitude we have towards things, and this is one of the contrasts. I mean, the old idea of science is that, you know, the outside world is completely impersonal and objective, and the scientist is completely impersonal and objective, and you just get all of your personal, all of your human kind of characteristics, all the things that are meaningful to you. Get those out of the way, because they will cloud your, you know, vision. They will make you prejudiced and biased towards certain things. And then just look and you'll see. But what you've done is not only have you put those aside from yourself, you subtracted them from the world outside as well. So, you know, when old school scientist looks at a sunset, he sees, you know, light refracted at different sort of wavelength levels. He doesn't see, you know, beautiful reds and yellows and oranges or strange mixtures of blue and green or whatever. Those are purely subjective kinds of additions to the world that we add to it. And if you go around thinking like that, you know, then yeah, the world's going to look like that. If you go around thinking that all of the things that make life meaningful are actually purely subjective, they're more or less, not necessarily illusions, but there's something I add to it to make life livable for me, then what are you going to see? You're going to see a kind of world that's devoid of all meaning and everything. And likewise with your relationships with people. And yeah, I would say the mystery of love is one of the essential mysteries. Certainly it's up there with the mystery of personality. You know, who are you? Who am I? This is one of the things when you are in love, that's the thing that mystery, the mystery of personality, is embodied in the other. You know, who is this person? You know, and Yeah, I mean, it's the closest thing most of us have to a mystical experience, I think, and I think you're absolutely right. And what you don't want is a world in which that's explained, but we have that more or less now. It's pheromones, it's, as you say, biological attraction, it's a variety of different evolutionary kinds of things and all that, and the sort of true love and all that. Well, that's a very nice idea, but it's kind of, it's just a sentimental fantasy, and we might accept that intellectually, but I think in terms of our feelings and our other side, we can't. And I didn't get a chance to talk about it now, but I talk about it in the book. I should mention this absolutely important book called The Master and His Emissary by Iain McGilchrist, which reboots the whole right brain, left brain notion. It's one of the most important books, I think, to come out ever. But he's able to discuss all of these questions in the context of very hard science about the differences between the cerebral hemispheres, and he's able to he looks at the whole history of the West in terms of that, and it's an absolutely brilliant book. I mean, the upshot of it is that we've more or less devalued and repressed a completely other mode that we have of interacting with the world. It's much more along the lines of this participatory mode of consciousness I was talking about earlier, in which he relates to the right brain, and we've developed and continue to develop a more left brain dominant kind of world, which excises all these kinds of things we're talking about. So if you get a chance, I would definitely get a hold of a copy of that book and read it, because it's very, very important.